Good morning and welcome everybody to the Holmesglen Sports Degree Summit. I've got across from me this morning Kira Johnston, a current third year Bachelor of Sports Media student, one of our superstar students who has just started her internship at Rainmaker, the production arm of SEM. We'll come back to that a little later, but welcome Kira.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here. It should be a good day.
Absolutely. And a very special guest joining us today, Elise Collette to my right, who has taken some time out of her weekend to come in here and I suppose share with us her experience, not only being at Holmesglen, but going out into industry. So welcome, Elise.
Thank you for having me. It's my honour.
Fantastic. Well, to both of you, appreciate you coming in on your Saturday morning. I'm pretty excited today because historically, the sports degrees have had probably a 3 or 4% female enrolment, and I've got two of you in the room with me, and I don't want to sound biased, but often our best students are our female students. How have you guys seen, I suppose, coming into the degrees, being in a room that's heavily full of males? What's that been like? And you've probably got different stories, but maybe we'll start with you, Kira. How have you found that along the journey of your 2.5 years so far?
It was a bit of a culture shock. I went to an all-girls high school and I was a dancer in a very predominantly female dance school. So I went from a completely all-female life to walking into the course and having only myself and one other girl, Alice, in the course with me. So it was a big culture shock. I was actually talking to someone about it yesterday, but I think in many aspects it's really prepared me for the industry because although we're making a lot of inroads and a lot of change has been made, the industry is still very male dominated. So I think you could look at it as, not a lot of females, but really it's just preparing you for what it's like out in the workplace.
I think that's a great point, and I'm going to quiz Elise on this too because she's out in industry now. But I feel like the female students have done so well out in industry post their study because they've been in that environment. So they go out and it's like, well, that's cool. Like I've been doing this for 3 years. I've been sitting in rooms debating and pushing my point in a, potentially with mindsets that are different to mine. And I've been pretty committed to that. Even the quieter females in the class. And I think that sort of held them in good stead. Was your experience the same, Elise, or how did you find it?
It was a little bit different. I came from a co-ed high school, and if I remember correctly, I was surprised that I wasn't the only girl in my year because we originally started. There was the three of us, and then a couple more females came along second semester, first year. But I appreciated not being the only girl, but also. Growing up, I had a lot of male friends, so I was used to being the only girl in situations. And, yeah, you're exactly right. Going into industry now, I'm the only girl on my team at work. And, it's good good preparation, I guess, for what's to come.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll come back to you being out in industry and, of course, Elise is our guest here, and she's a sports journalist who's been out in industry now for quite a few years after graduating in 2019. But let's talk a bit about internships and preparation for industry. Now, Kira, you've started your internship about 4 weeks ago.
Yep.
You are with Rainmaker, SEN's production arm, who've been a fantastic partner of ours, in particular Darcy Bonser, who heads up that department. Give us a bit of a rundown of, I'm really interested in hearing, is the internship so far what you thought it would be? I know you're only sort of early in, but what's the start been like and what was the process for you going through the interviews and, you come out of that transition subject? Did you feel prepared? Was the process sort of seamless? Were you nervous? Were you a bit stressed? Because it's really interesting sitting here from afar looking at you. I would think you never get stressed. And I think it's a testament. You've been in lots of challenging, stressful situations. So now it's sort of like, water off a duck's back type thing. But was it stressful? Internally, we're like, what am I going to do? What am I going to get the internship I want? Because I know that plays on people's minds. Tell us about your experience.
Yeah, I think the most stressful part was probably deciding which internship I wanted the most and how I would navigate that, which once again, I think is a very real life issue, I suppose you could say, within the industry. So I did get offered another internship before I accepted my one at Rainmaker, which was a bit of a play on the mind situation as well, because I knew that Rainmaker was the one that I wanted the most, but I hadn't been offered that yet. So do I decline my first offer and hope that I get the second offer, or what do I do? So I had to navigate that, which you're a massive support of as well. So that was good to have the support of Holmesglen when making that decision. But I think that transition subject was a really great one in terms of preparing us, in terms of getting our resumes ready and our cover letters ready. But I think for me, the most important part of that subject was the interview practice. I think I was pretty confident with where my resume and cover letter was sitting at, but just to practice interviewing day after day, I felt really confident going into the interview that I knew how to answer the questions, because let's be real, worded differently every interview, they're asking you the same questions. So then when I met with Rainmaker and with Darcy, I felt really prepared to answer to the best of my ability. And I think I did know what I was going into, because Darcy came and spoke to us as a class. I met with him in an interview and he was really clear with what the internship would look like. So it's been what I expected, but it's been really fun and I'm really enjoying it so far, and I'm excited where it may go.
Fantastic. Rewind. And this is it's funny when I talk to alumni who come in, and it's great chatting about their experience, but some of them are like, it's really hard to remember. And most of them, though, tell me, well, that was such a pivotal part of my experience here. Like, we've done 2.5 years, we've learned all these things in class, we've got these great skills, but suddenly it's like we need to get a job, and the internship's a big part of that. So tell us about your experience, where you interned, and how that set you up for industry.
Yeah, so I did mine at AFL Outer East and I loved it. There's a reason that when you're coming into the degree, the internship's the thing you look forward to, and it's 100%. So yeah, my internship was really varied. So it was mainly journalism, but did a bit of video, did a bit of working on awards nights. And I really appreciated the variety I got with it. And yeah, it really helped build my experience writing batch reports and previews, and just gave me this solid foundation that I've been able to use out in industry.
Great. And I think that's the key. I was chatting, funnily enough, at 5:30 on my Friday driving home. One of our internship partners, PGA, actually called me and said, tell us a bit more about it. Well, they're taking on one of our third-year students in the media degree. Tell us a bit about it. I said, well, our students are ready to go. Like, they're ready to work. So this isn't an internship where they turn up and they sit in the corner and they go and get your coffee. And, I mean, they'll get your coffee if you like, because they're very flexible, adaptable. But at the crux of it, they're ready to deliver, and they should be adding value. So if there's a project, if there's something specific you want them to achieve, particularly the under-resourced organisations, that's what I expect of the students, and that's what they should expect, because in 6 months they're going to be going, putting in applications for jobs. I love hearing that you loved your internship. I think there's an element of immersing yourself in it. So the students and you two are two great examples of people who take opportunities that come your way. So you're here this morning. It's a Saturday morning at 20 past 11 probably. And you two don't need to be here, but you're here. And the really cool thing about what we're trying to do with this Sports Summit, Elise, is to create this community where in 5 years' time, when Kira's on AFL 360 or she's on the field, on the ground at the MCG with special comments, doing whatever she's doing, which I know is going to happen at some point, she'll come back because she loved being part of this, and she's part of this family. And I feel like for you, that's something, as I haven't spoken to you for some time. I know you sort of keep in touch with Sam, but I feel like for our students, and for you included, that there's always a place you can come back. Do you feel like that? Do you think that's a special part of what we do here?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, a lot of I remember a lot of my lecturers being, yourself included, being so friendly, so welcoming, and yeah, it's always nice to touch back in and see how things are going.
It's really nice too, and Kira and I talk about this often, that when the students go on to bigger and better things, than study, that they can still pick up the phone and make a phone call. And I love that about what we do. Davin, One of our main lecturers here just gives his time and gives his knowledge and his insights to anyone who'll listen. And I think the students who take the opportunity to do that always go on and do great things. I want to talk, Elise, and I want you to, maybe Kira can ask you a couple of questions, because she's about to be you. She's started her internship. She's preparing to go out into industry. I want to have her ask you a couple of questions, but to start with, tell us about you finished, you graduated, and it's kind of this 6-month process then, because you got to wait till graduation, which is not till May. But you finished and you're applying for jobs. Tell us about the end, what you did, and then how that sort of worked out. How long did it take you? It takes, it can take people 2-3 years to get the job they're looking for. Did it take you a long time? What was the process like? And what do you remember about it?
Yeah, so my story is probably pretty unique. So I finished up at the end of 2019, and then 4 months later the world shut down because of the pandemic. So yeah, I timed that badly, didn't I? So yeah, the next couple of years were hard trying to get a job because no one was hiring, and
especially not sport.
Yeah, exactly. So, I just kept persisting, and then, funnily enough, this is probably the most unique employment story ever. I was tweeting about frustrations about trying to get a job, and then my now boss saw the tweet and said, message me, I think I might be able to help you out. And originally it was meant to be a non-paid, just volunteer role kind of thing. And then timing worked out well that someone from the company was leaving and an opportunity opened up, and I took it, and the rest is history, and I've been there about 2.5 years now.
I love it because you mentioned the word persist, and to be frank, even forget the COVID part, which will come. I want to quiz you on that a bit more. But the persistence you need. Sport is a brilliant industry. We all love it. We come here because we want to talk sport all day. We immerse ourselves in it. We love it. But it can be really tough to get. Once you get in, I think you're sort of in, and it becomes a little bit easier. But for some, it can be difficult. So not only were you going into an industry where you've got to find little cracks and ways to get in, but a couple of years you had to deal with that persistence and trying to. What did you do? You were at home. It was lockdown. You had 2 years. You'd graduated. You were excited, going to get a job. Hang on, there's no jobs. What did you do in that time?
Yeah, so I picked up photography. Started doing that a bit, which was a bit of fun, and still use a bit of that now in my job. Just tried to pick up other volunteer writing jobs where I could, try and not necessarily sports related, but just I was writing about COVID lockdowns and politics and US elections and other things. You've just got to keep going, and just find ways to keep yourself sane in what were really unprecedented times at the time.
Good on you. It's a really cool story, actually. Kira, do you want to ask Elise a couple of questions, maybe about getting into industry, what that was like, and what it was like getting. I mean, we've already talked about the fact that you're going to be sad when you don't get to come in here and chat with all of us and be with your peers and debate with students who have different.
About why
do you know what I mean?
Esports is not a sport.
Well, that's a whole nother podcast. But have you got some questions? Have you got things you'd like to quiz Elise on?
Yeah, definitely. I think you've mentioned volunteering a lot so far. I think a lot of people turn their nose up a little bit to the idea of volunteering, but how important is it to volunteer just to get your foot in the door?
Oh, it was massive for me. Like, I had a couple of volunteer, or called media roles, both journalism and a little bit of commentary and other things as well. And that's been massive for me because it's a chance to do what you love, but also perfect your craft in a way. And yeah, it's been massive for me, and I would highly recommend anyone to have a volunteer role.
And Simone doesn't like us calling internship volunteering because it goes towards our degree. It's different to volunteering, but how important is it to really put in 100% to your internship and almost act as if it is a paid role and you're living out your best life in the career you want to be in?
Oh, it's massive. Like with mine at AFL East, I treated it as my job in a way, even though I wasn't getting paid. And it was really helpful for me because coming out of it, I'm like, okay, this is how things run at local footy leagues, and it gave me a really strong, I guess, foundation in a way of what to expect moving forward.
And we've touched on your transition then into the real working life and your career now. What's been one of the biggest learnings transitioning into working in the industry?
That's hard. I guess a big thing for me is quite a big part of my role now is netball related, but I was what you'd call a casual netball fan. So that's learning on the run kind of thing, and just taking the info you read and trying to work it into articles, and I guess being prepared to keep learning, I guess.
That's a great piece of advice. Everyone should be listening to that. One more for me. To all the students, if every student in the Holmesglen sports degree was currently listening to this right now, what is one piece of advice you'd give them as they transition out of uni or even during the uni course?
Oh, that's tricky.
I'm hitting you with the hard ones.
I guess
Well done.
take every opportunity you can get, because you don't know how useful it's going to be until you're where I am and you're trying to get settled in the industry.
Love it.
Great
Simone?
advice. I'll add to that because I think that's really important, and it's a different time, and I think the pandemic has played a role in this at least too. But I'm finding it really interesting. There's an expectation that people are going to get a job, and people are just going to do a degree, and if they do a degree, then they get a job. But that's not how the world works. So if the students are listening today and end up listening to this, the advice from me is really simple. So I get a lot of applicants who come in and interview with me, and they all say to me, "Hey, Simone, am I going to get a job? If I do your degree, will I get a job?" And my answer is, well, are you going to work hard? Are you going to do additional work outside of class? Are you going to go and do extra research? Are you going to go and meet people? Are you going to go and connect? Are you going to add every guest we have on LinkedIn? Are you going to do a great internship and do 2 internships? Are you going to volunteer? When you got a 4-month break, you're going to go and work at the Australian Open. What are you going to do? Because this degree is not going to get you a job.
100%.
It's the degree with everything you do on top of that. And I think you two are great examples of that, particularly in your internship. But then the persistence during COVID to keep writing and keep getting experience, knowing that even if it wasn't about sport, it was a way to keep you going and give you an opportunity to continue learning. I love that advice because a great friend of mine always says to me, and I live by this, don't be worried. In fact, thrive in an environment where you're not the smartest person in the room. A lot of people are fearful of that, and I'm the opposite. In fact, I sit in class sometimes with people like Kira, and I think some of these students in particular areas know more than me. And I love that because I learn from them, and I think there's obviously a few areas I know more than them, and I've had more experience, and we can, bounce ideas and things off each other. But I sit in a room with Davin Scargetta, who's a professional in his field, and he's just so knowledgeable and experienced, and I love that he's so smart and I can learn from him. And I think that's excellent advice, because I think students come into class and they're scared to say, "Excuse me, I don't know what that means," or they don't want to ask a question because they think that their peers or their lecturers are going to judge them. I say ask every question, question everything, query everything, and find out how you feel about it and create your opinion, your mindset. That's really important to me. So that is my advice. I have one more thing to ask. I'm going to ask both of you before we finish up. Favourite memories, and you're still in your degree, so this, you might say it's the US tour you
I was
haven't
going
been
to say,
on
can
yet.
I do something that hasn't happened yet?
But before the US tour, which we'll talk about later too today, Elise, favourite memories of being at Holmesglen?
That's really hard.
Did you ever kick the footy with Chloe Malloy? I wanted to ask you that.
No, I don't think I did, but I do remember having some very interesting conversations with her before she got drafted. But I think just the opportunities, like the partnership with, or ours was with Canterbury Footy Club, and to the internship, and just I would say the opportunities that I had and the variety of opportunities we were given.
I love that you say opportunities. I love that you've said variety, because that's really critical too. Kira?
I have a really odd favourite memory because it's not even necessarily when I was in the degree yet, but I think, and this is like partially kind of advice as well, but the moment I enrolled in the degree, I had enrolled in La Trobe, had no idea that this degree existed, and someone reached out to me and said, I think you'd really like this course, you should enroll. And I spoke to Sam the next day. And
Who, can I ask who that was?
Alexi. Yeah.
Alexi's a star.
Yeah. So, and that was simply just because I'd said on a podcast that I wanted to do sports media, and he heard that podcast.
Amazing.
Yeah. So my favourite memory is that interaction I had with Alexi and Sam, because it, in many ways, has changed my life, because I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for that conversation.
So what you're telling me is you're thanking Alexi for the trip to LA and Vegas you're about to go on. Alexi, a big thank you from everyone at the Holmesglen Sports Degrees. We miss you. You're a big part of our family and our alumni. We hope you're doing well. A big thank you to you two. We could sit here and chat for the next couple of hours, but we're not going to do that. Thank you for your time. You're great members of our alumni. Kira's still here. And, you know, I'd love to have you back next year and in 5 years, and keep following your journey, and good luck.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Live now.
I thought Kira was. Kira's not involved in
You're
this.
the head honcho of this one. She's
Oh.
going to come back in.
What am I doing? MC.
We're just chatting.
Oh,
No,
that's all right.
I'm the head honcho.
Oh,
here.
that's right.
You'll follow my lead.
Thank
Sam.
you.
You're not my boss today.
No, good. Good.
First of all, big thank you to both of you. I'm very lucky here. It's the second Sports Degrees Summit we've held here for the Holmesglen Sports Degrees. I've got very important man in front of me, the Dean of the Faculty of Higher Education, Sam Duncan, Dr. Sam Duncan, mind you. Thank you for being here, Sam.
Thank you for having me, Simone. It's great to be here, and it's great to see the sports degrees going from strength to strength. It's been an incredible semester and a wonderful now decade of delivering the sports degrees. And to reflect on how we started and where we are shows I think, a really good snapshot of how far we've come. But it's terrific to be here, so thank you.
Awesome. And to my right, a superstar in his own right, not a doctor quite yet, but Tom Wilson. A big thank you for being here, mate. We're super excited. We'll get into a bit more about you, but do you want to give the listeners or the people watching a bit of an intro into who you are and why you would be sitting at Holmesglen today?
Yeah, I can do that. Thanks for having me. It's great to be back on campus. It's been a little while actually for myself. So I'm a student undertaking the Bachelor of Sports Business degree. So started that back in 2020, but a bit of a background in sport. Played junior basketball growing up, played professionally, went to college in the US, and then after a few years decided to try my hand at footy. Spent the last couple of years playing AFL, on the AFL list at Collingwood, and and that's kind of the really brief. Try not to ramble on too much, but yeah, I've been lucky enough to play 2 sports professionally, and now back playing a bit of basketball, which is pretty cool.
I love how humble you are because you started that conversation with a bit of a sports background. I mean, let's be honest. Amazing as a youngster in basketball. And I want to quiz you because you had a really different entry into the degree to the degrees than a lot of people have.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, you came in, as an elite athlete looking to do some study to complement what you were doing on the training track. But you've been overseas, you've studied overseas before your time here. Can you give us a bit of a snapshot? I know it wasn't necessarily the easiest of times for you,
Mm-hmm.
but what was it like going from being a sports person, basically living out, I think for any young person, their dream is to play in the US or play in Europe. You went over and you were part of a college program. Tell us a bit about that time and what that journey's been like for you.
Yeah, it was. It definitely rings home when you say, for any young sort of person that aspires, it's a aspirational sort of thing to do. And I think even just looking at that photo, for me with that jersey on, like that was probably from the time I was 10. That was something I wanted to do, go to college. Funny little story, but Braden Maynard, who I'd played with at Collingwood, his older brother was the first person that I knew of that went to college and played basketball. And he was the first person I knew, and ever since he did it, and I would have been about 10 years old, I wanted to do it basically ever since I knew that it was possible. Incredible experience. I went to SMU, which is in Dallas, Texas, an amazing school, very, very well financially placed, which was a crazy experience coming from, I was fortunate enough to go to private school here in Melbourne and see what all that was like, but experiencing a whole another dimension, and the university, like the school that I went to it's been voted by numerous magazines and stuff the most beautiful campus in America and all this crazy stuff. It was interesting, balancing that with school, and then I guess probably looking back, it's a topic that you would hear a lot. I think nowadays it's how do you identify yourself? Do you identify yourself, as a sportsman, or are you a person first, or and that's something I definitely didn't have a grasp of that concept back then. Probably I wasn't maybe performing or getting the opportunity I would have liked, and then probably as a result didn't enjoy my experience as much as I should have. in the time that I was there. I did love it, and I look back and think about it was such an amazing opportunity. I had a friend recently that I just went to his wedding, coincidentally in Italy, that we went to high school here in Melbourne together, and he went over as a punter, and he's met a girl there that he ended up marrying. So it's a interesting sort of full circle. But yeah, I don't regret leaving or anything like that. But it was going to college in America is definitely a once in a lifetime experience. I'm glad that I got the chance to do it.
Amazing. I love that you just mentioned the word identity, and I came from sort of a high performance sport background, but a lot of discussion over particularly recent years about athletes who go on to study or go on to do other things so that their sole identity isn't in their sport. And I think for you and a mate of yours, Darcy Cameron, who's also studying here, I feel like that's been important. It's easy for me to say that, but I'd love you to tell us about how important has it been studying, even, during COVID when there was less opportunity for the sport stuff, but how important has the study been, and what's the opportunity at Holmesglen been like at, being flexible and lecturers sort of providing other opportunities outside of class for you? Tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, so to answer the sort of the latter first, I got in touch with Sam when obviously Sam was the head of the department, I guess you would say, and just got along really well. And sort of the club, the way you did it through like a development manager at the club, and they would give you a bunch of options. And I just got on the phone with Sam one day and then came down here, I think had a meeting actually, and just had a really good feeling. And that's kind of, for me personally, that's kind of what I was more after, to have a relationship with the people that I was going to be working with. I didn't want to be necessarily in, a big classroom where I, speaking, like I could only speak to the lecturer via email and stuff like that. So I've been very lucky with the way, I think, it's, what do they say, like the head, fish rots from the head or something, but the culture that is here, I think, carry it from Sam. He set obviously an amazing example, and everyone else through, I've been in classes with yourself, Simone, and then Davin and Nelly, that you've all had the same approachability, which has been amazing. For myself, and obviously you mentioned before Darcy, trying to juggle commitments, and probably the hardest thing is, your schedule changes week to week, so trying to nut out time to get things done. And the flexibility you guys have afforded us has been incredible. So I can't really be any more grateful for the experience I've had. It's been, to be honest, it's been seamless for me. And then I think, as part of like my identity and wanting to get something done, I think the biggest thing that I take away from it is it gives you like I don't know, I guess what I'm trying to say is like finishing an assignment, like the sense of like accomplishment that you get from doing that. And obviously when you're in a high performing elite sport, you judge yourself on how you perform on the weekends and things like that. But you can, it might not come with the same level of adrenaline or anything like that, or same build up, but, working through something and then handing it in and finishing it, and then the feeling you get after that, it's just like a sense of accomplishment, something that I definitely really enjoy. And it's something that's like doesn't necessarily come naturally to me, studying or that kind of thing, but it's I guess the feeling that you get for probably pushing through something and then accomplishing it, finishing it, and you go, I can do it, and it makes you feel good. So yeah.
Great answer. I brought up this quote. This is one of my favourite quotes. How you do one thing is how you do everything. And I'm intrigued as an elite athlete who's, multi-sport athlete. You said studying doesn't come naturally to you, whereas the sports side of things does. How important is it that you put in the effort with your study? I mean, it might be a little bit easy for you guys not being on campus all the time and not being in that environment with your peers studying. How important is it to you that you put the effort in that you would if you were doing something on the training track or in the gym when it comes to getting your work done?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. I think like something that you are told or you sort of learn the lesson of is sort of like your own brand as a person, as an athlete, and what that means, and not even as an athlete, just as a person in day-to-day life. And I think for myself, yeah, there's a sense of definitely. I think for me, it works in a way of because I've had these amazing relationships with you guys as my lecturers and professors. There's a sense that I want to do the right thing by you guys as well, because the way that you've handled my situation and Darcy's as well. So yeah, I guess in that sense, you learn a lot of hardworking traits and that sort of thing to get to the top level. So those are the things that become habit over a period of time, and then I guess once you formed a habit, you don't realize you're really doing it. But yeah, for me, it's probably just more important to uphold trying to be a good person and value everyone else's time as equally as yours, and that's probably what sticks out for me.
Absolutely. I'd like it on the record that I was called a professor, everyone. Thank you. I'll hand over to Sam for a minute, and I think this one's interesting because, we've got students here and their sole role is they're a student. They might work 10 or 15 or even 20 hours a week part-time, but that's what they do in their life, whereas you're in the gym, you don't have to tell us your schedule, but you're in the gym a lot of days a week. You're on the court now because you're back. You've moved on from Collingwood. You're back playing in the NBL1 with the Mighty Tigers. There's a lot that goes into what you do, and I hear students all the time, I'm really busy. I can't do that, I'm really busy. And I think if we want to do something and we love it, we find the time to do it. And Sam's a great example of that for me. I mean, he's got a family. He's actively researching and writing. He's publishing in journals. He's travelling, he's leading a department. Amongst many other things, commentating on the weekend is trying to get Essendon to win a flag. That's going to be difficult. There's all these parts to that. And, you talked about being in an environment with people you respect and you want to sort of mirror those traits and behaviours. I feel like that with Sam. So I'd love maybe, Sam, for you to quiz Tom a little bit on how he sort of goes about getting things done, but keeping the quality and the standards there.
I mean, this is a really interesting point because this is what a degree also can do for those that are enrolled. I mean, it's a life lesson. We always talk about learning the various subject content and developing the skills and knowledge you need for your field of study or industry. But there's a whole heap of other lessons that you learn and a whole heap of other skills that you develop along the way. And time management is one of them. So, you've just finished year 12. If you have, in that student profile, you step into a different environment where you don't necessarily have a teacher monitoring you or asking you to hand things in every week. It's now up to you to juggle everything. You might have just got your license, you've got your independence, you can go out to pubs and clubs, you're earning money, you're trying to spend time with your family and your friends, and oh, by the way, you're also enrolled in a degree. And some people live at home, others have come from the country or overseas, others are playing sport. So it's an and your time management only becomes more important the older you get. I mean, you provided a snapshot of that, Simone. So, Tom, what is it like? I mean, when you're a professional athlete, you have an enormous amount of commitments as a professional athlete, and that is very much the priority. When you're studying as a professional athlete too, you're doing it over 6 years essentially, which is an enormous commitment, to stay enthusiastic for that amount of time. So how do you manage it, given you already said that your schedule changes from week to week, to make sure you're hitting your milestones to complete your subjects and your assessments within that?
Yeah, it's a good question, and it's something that I by no means have figured out. So in terms of that, I don't know if I'm the best person to ask, but yeah, managing your time is something that you hear about from everyone in day-to-day life. But I guess the reality is we all have the same amount of time in a day. So, the opportunity to do the things you want to do are there. So I guess probably just for me, say when I was at Collingwood, you do have a lot of free time, and I guess it's a conversation that you hear a lot, in the media or whatever it is, the amount of free time that these players have, and which is obviously amazing, and why you probably hear, it's so encouraged for footballers to go and find other avenues to, use that time. so not sort of sitting around and doing nothing. So that, that's obviously why, it's encouraged that, the clubs do a great job, to help you find something that you want to do outside of football. So there's that part of it, and then, but also being a professional athlete, you do get that free time, but the hours that you spend at the club, you're putting so much time and energy into. Sorry, you're not putting so much time, but you're putting so much energy and effort into that period of time when you're at the club. You do just want to debrief and reset, and when you get home, you're dealing you're under fatigue a lot of the time. You're tired because you're training really hard, and you want to try and get games or sustain a level of success, whatever it may be. So there's just so many factors. I think for me, I'm someone, when I sit down and try and do my work, I'm not someone who can really get home and be, okay, I'm just going to do an hour and a half here. And then, on Wednesday, I'm going to do, another hour here. I'm much more a person who, if I'm going to do an assignment, I need to almost block out half a day or a full day to do it. And so for me, it was just understanding what I enjoy doing. I'd always used to hear about people be like, yeah, I got home and I just did 45 minutes. For me, I could never really work like that. And so just understanding how you operate as an individual probably is the biggest thing. And then that would be my point, I guess. Like, as I said before, I definitely haven't figured it out, but yeah, understanding, who you are as an individual and learning, I guess, how you're going to go from there.
Do you think, how have you found it? I mean, when I said, when you're an athlete and you're enrolled part-time, so it's 4 subjects for a student that's going full-time, and then it's, for you, if you're doing 1 or 2 subjects to fit in with your workload, it's going to take, twice as long.
Yep.
How do you stay motivated to do your course? I mean, 3 years is a long time.
Yeah.
We all go through different waves of levels of enthusiasm in our day-to-day lives and jobs.
Yeah.
6 years to persevere at something is a significant amount of time. And I imagine at the start, 6 years seems a long way away. I mean, you're closer to the end than the beginning at the moment. But how do you stay motivated to meet the requirements of the degree?
Yeah, it's probably twofold. Like, it's obviously what we're working toward. Like, we're working towards something to finish at the end of it, and that's great. And then, as I said before, just the environment of the nature of the relationships that we've had with you guys, bringing us along essentially. So that's kind of works hand in hand. And yeah, I think, you'd be kidding yourself if you didn't think it's going to ebb and flow, and you have periods of time where you're going to enjoy it, or periods of time where you're feeling motivated to do it, and then periods of time where you're not. So yeah, obviously trying to maximize the time when you do feel like you have the energy to put into it, and then understanding that it's okay if you don't feel motivated to do it. Not everyone wakes up every day motivated to get after what they're going to go and do. So it's just part of everyday emotions that everyone feels throughout life. So yeah.
And may I keep going, or have you
One
got
more
questions?
Sam.
One more question from me. Can I ask essentially why you wanted to do a degree?
Yeah.
So you were studying. You're been an athlete. You have studied previously. You were at Collingwood when we first engaged. Prior to that, you were playing basketball. What was it that made you think, I want to study a degree? And I guess the secondary question is, why sport business?
Yep. Yeah. So for me, I don't know if there was a definite sort of one thing that I can point to, but there's probably a few things. My experience at college, and being a part of a program where I was actively studying, I think that was a good experience, just to know that there's other things outside of the sport. And I always had obviously big aspirations and goals that I wanted to achieve within sports. So yeah, I think it was just a good thing for me to have, to take myself away from that. And, just talking about identity and stuff before, that, you are more than just the sport that you play, was a big one. And then, sport business is something that I've always just had an interest in. I've always sort of juggled between, do I want to be going to coaching, or would I rather be sort of in the sports admin side of things? Obviously just sits quite nicely. Coaching's probably more of a, something you would go and spend time doing and being a physical coach. But, this sort of a degree for, sports admin side of things is yeah, there's definitely a lot of classes that you take that are going to be really transferable and give you the skills and assets that you need, yeah, to sort of lay the foundation for you to move into something like that.
Good answer.
Brilliant.
Yeah, great answer. We could chat for hours and we can't because we've all got other things to get onto. I'm so appreciative of your time. I want to finish with one question.
Mm-hmm.
And I will let you give your business a bit of a plug here, but you've
Yep.
got a little business going. As you sort of finalise your business degree, you've started a business with some mates,
Mm-hmm.
and you're obviously playing basketball, NBL 1 with the Melbourne Tigers, with Gazy. And I'm really interested, where is Tom Wilson going to be in 10 years? And I'm excited because in 10 years, when we're still running this sports summit, I'm going to call you, and I know you'll come in, and you've been a great support of everything we do, and we talked about that, the mutual respect and helping each other when we can. Where are you going to be in 10 years? Where am I going to be calling you? Will you be in the country? What are your aspirations? What does Tom Wilson want to do beyond study and beyond what you're doing at the moment?
Yeah.
Hang
Probably-
on, and you can give your business a little plug if you want.
Yeah, so the business has been great. Two of my best friends that I went to high school here with in Melbourne. It's called Colour Plane, where essentially we're a clothing wholesaler. So we provide blank garments to businesses, and then they go and print on them, sell them, or use them for merchandise, whatever it may be. So yeah, we've been trading for about 18, 20 months now. And yeah, it's been great. Obviously, any startup business is tough, and lots of bumps along the way, and there still is. So, but yeah, every day that you live to fight is a good one as a business. So, yeah, things are going great. My two business partners are actually over in Paris at the moment, doing some work, which is pretty cool. So, as for me, I'm obviously trying to sort of rekindle a basketball career at the moment. So we'll see where that takes me. I wouldn't want to put a limitation on anything. I'd love to see, where it can go. And I guess in terms of that, with a lot of my sport, I used to map out like, this is where I want to be in 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. And, which is always great. And it's always good to have a plan and where you want to go. Cause I think you got to have goals and aspirations you want to strive for. But I think some of the things that I learned along the way is, if you don't take care of what you're doing in the day to day, and if you're looking at something in a year in advance, and then all of a sudden your day to day things, you're kind of letting slip, all of a sudden that can really sneak up on you, and you've kind of maybe forgotten a few things along the way. So for me, I've become probably less, looking in the distance and more what's just in front of me and trying to control that, and then. Yeah, having a level of understanding that I have a general direction of where I want to go, but I got to do these things in front of me in order to get there anyway. Otherwise, it's probably not going to happen. So, in 10 years, I couldn't really tell you. I got no idea. So, but yeah, I like to obviously enjoy life and have a good time and try and be quite lighthearted. So, hopefully, I'm enjoying myself. That'd be nice.
So the aim at the moment, though, is definitely to play in the NBL?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, which I haven't actually necessarily probably really said in a public sort of a sense yet. So, yeah, it's probably...
We got the scoop.
Yeah, it's a nice thing to
strive
have off my shoulders. But yeah, it's, not lost on me the opportunity that I have, and very grateful. A lot of people don't, finish up one sport, and for all intents and purposes, like when I was finished at Collingwood, I thought I was done playing professional sports. So, very lucky to sort of potentially have an opportunity in front of me, which is cool.
I love your answer too. Like, it's all about the process, and the realities are we all have goals, and we aspire to do certain things and succeed. But the reality is, if you're right, the process isn't there, and we don't get things done, then that makes it difficult. You've been brilliant. We've loved having you. We love any time we get to chat with you. We got the scoop we were looking for too, Tom. So a big thank you. And we'll be following. We're big supporters of yours. And yeah, make sure you submit A3 in the next couple of weeks.
That's it. That's it.
No, in all seriousness, thank
Yeah.
you, and a big thanks to Sam for joining us too.
Yeah.
My pleasure. Good on you,
Good.
Tom. And yeah, we'll be watching. Good luck with everything. And Simone, well done on everything that's happening with the sports degrees. It's very exciting. And as I said, you know, these degrees are extremely unique. I was just talking to some prospective students. There's really nothing like them in Australia. There are some other sport management degrees, but generally at universities these days they're streams within a general or generic business or management degree, and sports media even more so. When I talk about being unique, there is no other dedicated sports media degree in Australia. There are some that offer streams in media or media comms and journalism degrees, but what we're doing is really unique, and I think the quality is really starting. Well, it's been showing for a little while with high-quality graduates getting great jobs with high-quality organisations. That's what it's all about. And whilst our students are here, we're able to provide an extraordinary student experience. And yes, people would say, well, he has to say that, but I say it absolutely hand on heart, knowing it to be true. So keep up the great work.
Thanks, Sam. Appreciate it.
Awesome.
Good morning. Welcome back, everybody, to the Sports Summit, Holmesglen Sports Degrees. I'm very excited and very lucky today to be joined by three superstars who have all been part of, or a couple are currently part of, Extra Time. Good morning, Kira,
Morning.
Bodie, and
Morning.
Mark.
G'day.
How are we this morning, guys?
Doing all right. It's
It'd be really great for me if you sounded more motivated about being in the beautiful Holmesglen Sports Degrees
I
podcast studio.
love this podcast studio. I've been here quite a lot. Had a few trivias,
I
a few
will
podcasts
say-
in here.
Mark, I was here at 9 a.m. painting some of the...
I
very
noticed.
old-looking,
I
I
noticed.
noticed that I just pressed it and got black on my hand.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know why.
I mean, I didn't expect people to touch it.
well,
so-
why wouldn't I touch it?
But I've done a bit of work this morning, so I'm pretty
I like
proud
it.
pretty proud of myself. But no, in all seriousness, a big thank you for being here. One of the great things about this summit, and this is only the second year we've run this, is that we want to highlight some of the great students and the great people that we have as part of our degrees, but also some of the great things we're doing. One of the really cool things that we started last year is Extra Time. For those of you who don't know a lot or haven't heard of Extra Time, surely there's no one. Extra Time is basically a publication team that we created to provide opportunity for students and to give people within our degrees, staff included, the opportunity to write, to produce, to create, and to add to their portfolio. Now, Kira, you started sort of with Extra Time last year. So did Bodie and Mark. And Bodie and Mark are both still involved. But just give us a bit of a snapshot. We'll start with you, Kira, of your experience with Extra Time and what it's been like sort of adding it as it's extracurricular. This is outside of class and you guys are volunteering your time. So tell us about it.
I think if we had $1 for every time we said extra in this podcast, we'd have a lot of money. But no, I think it's a really fabulous thing that Holmesglen started up. And I think one of the, I suppose, most pleasing things of it is you're working with your classmates and your lecturers in contributing to something pretty cool. And I think when you go out into industry, you obviously work with a lot of new people and faces that you've not met before, and sometimes that can bring challenges up. You have to get to know them before you sort of get down to business, whereas with Extra Time everyone is a familiar face, well, mostly anyway, and you get to really connect with people of other cohorts. The business and media degrees mix, which is really exciting as well, and then you also get to mix with the different year levels. So yeah, it's a great initiative by Holmesglen, one that I think a lot of people are really excited about.
Awesome. Bodie, and before you speak, I will say that Bodie is a business student, and I think potentially for you, and you can correct me if I'm wrong here, but it was probably a bit out of your comfort zone to put your hand up for this. And I will say as a student, that's been something that I've noticed about you as you progress through the degree, was you decided, I'm going to have to do stuff here that's maybe not what I'd normally do.
Yeah.
And I think that's the key to success in life, is being able to go and do stuff that maybe isn't easy and that is a little bit hard. I think you're thriving. You're writing some great stuff. You're part of the writing team. But tell us about your experience and what it's been like for you.
Yeah, definitely. So last year when we started Extra Time, I think I was the only business student that was on the team last year. And I think writing for me, in an academic sense or just any sense, wasn't probably my strong suit. So I took put myself out of my comfort zone to write. And sport's always been something I've liked, and being able to write about it, it was, the motivation was easy. At times your motivation to research or write an assignment could be low, but getting your motivation to write about sport is pretty easy at times. And I guess, giving the comfort zone is something that I like staying in, and then knowing that writing all throughout high school and then even first couple of years at uni wasn't my strong suit. So taking that leap to I guess publish something, even the first couple probably weren't great, and then this year I felt that it's gotten better, and then taking this year sitting with Woodsy on trivia, produced a podcast, probably wasn't the definitely not in my comfort zone, something I had no idea how to do, but gave it a go. And I think that's something that Extra Time, I guess, allows you to do. as a business student, I had no, I guess, podcasting was something that I found was interesting, but no exposure to it. And then getting, I guess, the chance to sit on trivia and answer some questions or help out doing the behind the scenes stuff has guess shown what you can do with it. And then that writing piece has really helped me both at uni, and then I guess I enjoy doing it outside. As a kind of, I don't know, you watch a lot of sport, but being able to write about the best parts of it kind of helps you guess mentally debrief as well from sports. So I've really enjoyed extra time. It's a great opportunity for, I guess, us as business students and media students to come together as well.
Fantastic. Woodsy, really interested to hear your thoughts, because Mark graduated at the end of last year, and we just had graduation a few weeks ago, and Woodsy's still here with Boxy every week, hosting the Extra Time podcast, running quizzes, and I think it's a testament to the sports degrees and the community and the culture we've created that you guys want to come back. And yes, you're both out working in industry and doing your own thing, but you love coming back here, and it's really important to you guys, I think, that you are still part of Extra Time. But talk us through what that's been like for you, and how important is Extra Time to you and to Boxy and to be part of that community?
Oh, it's very important. I think the fact that we set aside a day each week to come here, have a bit of a yarn, have a bit of a trivia, it's really it sets us up to actually have on-camera experience, but also research what's been happening in the world of sport, and being able to talk footy with your mate. Just everybody does it, but to do it in a time control environment, and it's fun. And obviously we don't always agree, and we don't always get the right trivias set up, but like it's good to have that podcasting experience, especially as a sports media student. And as a graduate now, I think it's even still feeling part of the Holmesglen community, to be wanted to keep doing it, to keep driving it, is something that I hold dear. And I know Boxy holds dear. It's one of those things where you try and get out of it, but then, oh no, we still want you to do it. So it's like, okay, yep, we'll happily do it then. It's not saying I want to get out of it, just saying I thought, just saying when I graduated, I thought that was it. And I thought, okay, well, time to move on. But no, the welcomeness of the sports degrees community of, no, we want you guys to still be a part of this and to drive it is, something that I view as fantastic that you don't really see elsewhere.
Yeah, that's great to hear. And a couple of things to start with, and I'll flick back to I'll talk about opportunity. So Bodhi mentioned before, business student, hadn't really done a lot of writing, didn't maybe feel comfortable or like you maybe had the skills to do that, particularly publish and, put it on the website and in the newsletter. And now I'm seeing we've got a WhatsApp group, which is a very amusing group to be part of, I must say. I enjoy my Saturday night discussions about whatever footy game is going on. It's excellent. But outside of that, in all seriousness, you know, 12 months on, you're creating ideas and you're coming up with really cool opportunities for us to grow our publication and for you to be part of that. I'm not sitting here saying, oh, Bodhi, I think you need to go and do that. You're doing that on your own. And I think that's part of what is great about Extra Time is the opportunity that we've sort of provided a platform, but you guys get to create and do what you want to do. So you've created these great opportunities from a writing point of view. You know, Woodsy and Boxy are creating at times very long trivia segments, but they're really cool and they're really creative and they're great viewing. But the opportunity, I think, is pretty cool. Like, how do you guys feel about that? Do you feel like you can come here and you can sort of create and you can be yourself and you can decide, oh, we might do this? Like, that's what it feels like. But is that in reality what it is?
Yeah, definitely. I think from a, I guess, degrees perspective, when you come in and you're doing assignments and that, you have some, I guess, freedom to be yourself, but when you're doing it from a, writing from your perspective of sport, and I think that, recently we started the first part of something that I want to continue doing was published, and it's more, you have your perspectives on sport, but you don't really have the opportunity you can voice them to your inner circle and whatnot, but I guess the platform that Extra Time has, the opportunity to do it is increased, and I think that, even sitting on trivia, I love sport. I, for some reason, have a silly knowledge of numbers and that kind of stuff for AFL players, and it gives me a chance to, I guess, show that. But especially the writing, you take that the first year, it was slow burn. I think that, we were behind on how many articles that we need to publish, and then this year coming into it going, like, look, it still can be a slow burn, but trying to find a way to I guess formulate it, not make it restrictive, but give yourself a time frame, give yourself a set structure, and then explore it that way is something that I think I want to try and do, and it's something that we started a couple of weeks ago. I'm in the process of doing the second piece at the moment, and I think that it showcases how much freedom you kind of have. You still have to be set boundaries to what you want to talk about, but the freedom to express who you are behind words is something that's pretty cool, and something that you don't normally get from a, I guess, in life perspective. You can sit and talk about sport to people as much as you want, but actually writing it and publishing it is a bit different, and I think that's really, and I've enjoyed it, and it's something that I want to continue doing. It's at times it's hard to come up with ideas, but especially as a you don't want to write about football if your team's not doing well. And for me, my team hasn't done well for a long time. So
he's a North Melbourne supporter for anyone listening.
So yeah, it's getting that chance to. I think the last piece we wrote about Oscar Piastri and the Mavs. Unfortunately, they lost, but they had two Aussies playing in the NBA Finals. So big F1 fan getting to write about an Aussie in F1 is something that's pretty cool. And I think that they continue to do it is something I'll definitely try and do.
Awesome. I want to, before I'm going to go to you, Woodsy, in a second, but I want to give a shout out. So we move from opportunity to experience. I'm giving Lorenzo, who is one of our first year superstar media students, who's producing this morning. He's obviously here on his Saturday like the rest of us. Lorenzo, say hello.
Hello, I'm here.
And this is why Extra Time is so great. In my opinion, because we're creating a community, and we get to connect, and we get to talk sport, and we're staying abreast of what's happening in the world of sport. But the experience, like in only 6 months, Lorenzo's been in here every week, giving up his time when he doesn't have to be here, and he's gaining the experience. You've now been here for more than a year doing Extra Time, obviously for 3 years studying, but the experience you're getting being on a podcast, you're hosting a podcast, and it's your own, and you get to decide what you talk about, and you get to decide how you go about it. How important is the experience and that opportunity for you in a setting where you've got a blank canvas?
Well, I think Bodie actually hit the nail on the head with, and it just stuck with me, the freedom to express who you are. I think that's the blank canvas, being able to come in every week, discuss, what do we want to discuss? Usually it's footy. Usually, like last week, we had a debate about the North Melbourne Collingwood game, and I'm going, it's more telling of Collingwood than it is North Melbourne. But Boxy had the other side, and we can actually have this discussion, and having this platform, having this experience to just talk footy, gaining the experience to be able to talk professionally, to be able to talk like a podcast style, radio style-esque. It's something that, like Lorenzo, sometimes, big shout out to him. Sometimes he's here for 5 hours on a Wednesday. We do the trivia, then we do the podcast, and we're waiting for Boxy. But all in all, the experience of just being able to vision switch, being able to produce a podcast like this, multicam setup, it's something that I wish I had back when I was his age, a decade or so ago now. But it's something that when you actually look and go into the industry, this is the stuff you're going to be doing. You're not always going to be watching your team play footy and get to write about them. You might have to produce a podcast for something you've got no interest in. Not saying Lorenzo doesn't have interest in what we're talking about, but that's the kind of experience, like, it's invaluable, because when it comes to getting the internships and getting the work, it's not always going to be the dream job. It's going to be going out in cold or winter, taking photos or creating media for a sport you're not really accustomed to. And I think that in itself, and like Bodie getting to write about the stuff he likes, but it's also gaining the experience to be able to talk about a sport that comes up in with our podcast. It's something that happens in Australia. Let's talk about it. Okay, we've got to kind of make it seem like we know what we're talking about. Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't, but it's also, once again, gaining that experience of being able to create the content that we want to create with that blank canvas.
Sorry, I'm listening to you and texting a prospective student who's locked outside because we're not in the conference centre, we're in a different building, and so I'm trying to this is again a great what you said is really important, because we've talked a lot about the internships. The internship experience is what everyone looks forward to, but it's not as simple as that, and you've been through this, and we won't delve too far into your experience, but the world of sport is not always as it seems, and it's not always straightforward. So I think being in an environment where you're working with different people, having different conversations, hearing different points of view, which I think is what we're doing. And as I said, I was in jest talking about our WhatsApp group, but it's actually really great. I was sitting here with Davin yesterday, and Lorenzo sends a very long essay message. It was very long. I loved it, but it was long. I've been following the darts, and it's the World Cup of Darts is coming up, and I'm writing this article, but I'm waiting till the end of the weekend because he's playing in an event, and I want to make sure that I like just that stuff. And to be honest, if some of you didn't post some of those things, I wouldn't know those things were happening. So I love that we've got this depth of interest, and Bodie, if people didn't know, played really high-level elite netball, men's netball. I didn't know anyone who'd played men's netball, barely knew that men played netball. And so I've learnt all these really cool and interesting things about the world of men's netball and netball a little bit more in general through him. And obviously we all talk footy, and so we've got North. We've got Davin's unfortunately a Pies supporter.
Very unfortunate.
Boxy and I are really living on the Hawthorn dynasty. And so, and poor old Woodsy just wants one premiership from the Saints before his time's up. So there's all these great conversations, and I think they too help you understand how you feel about sport, and they help you create your mindset and your thoughts and how you feel about it. And that's really important. But Lorenzo and Woodsy and Bodie and Kira, when she was involved last year, like such an interesting group of people who are really different. But we get along because we love sport, and you find the common ground. And for me, Extra Time brings that sense of community, because one of the things that we want to, push home here at the Degrees, and I'm sure you guys would agree with me, is that we are really different personalities and different people. And as we prepare to go out into the workforce and we finalise doing our group work, which I'm sure you guys are very excited about.
I'm glad I don't have to do that anymore.
The world of sport is a world where you will collaborate and work with other people every day, whether you like it or not. And you have to find ways to deal with and understand and respect people's ideas when they're potentially very different to yours. So that's something I love about this program. We don't talk as much about that, but the community we're creating is great. I could talk to you guys for hours. I'm not going to. We'll cut it there. But just any final thoughts? If you had first year students coming in the middle of the year, and you said you were going to talk up Extra Time, what would you say to them? How would you get them involved? What would be your selling point, Woodsy?
You get to work with Bodie, myself, Simone, Dad. I think it's one of those things that it's never too early to start on your portfolio, and it's a perfect opportunity to create a portfolio, whether it's writing, whether it's doing what Lorenzo does, or whether it's hosting a podcast. It's the sooner you start, the more stuff you'll have at the end.
Absolutely. Bodie?
As much as Woodsy joked about the people that you get to work with, that probably would be a selling point, and it's from the point that, like, you know, I studied a different course for a year and then transitioned afterwards, but you know, you don't get the exposure to work with, you know, Davin as a lecturer and Simone yourself as the course leader. Like, you don't work with them on a personal level as well, and this is, you know, you wouldn't know how they feel about sport from their personal life and that kind of stuff, and that's something that Extrum gives you the chance to do. As you said, you get exposed to a whole bunch of different sports. Like Lorenzo's message about darts yesterday, I have no idea about darts. People that, as you said, you wouldn't have known about men's netball, or you know, that kind of stuff. So it gives you exposure to a whole breadth of different ideas and sports. And you know, Boxy's league he talks about every week in the podcast, that you wouldn't know that sort of stuff unless you're involved in it. So I guess your exposure to people in industry, just like through yourself and Davin, and then the knowledge that you get off other people in the courses and their love for sport is something that would be a selling point for sure.
Yeah, awesome. Kira?
Mine would be to scroll through LinkedIn or Seek and have a look at all the jobs and take note that a lot of them say 3 years experience, 5 years experience. And for a lot of people, that really annoys them because they're like, well, how is an entry level job needing years and years of experience? But that doesn't mean working for 3 years in the AFL. That doesn't mean, you know, having your dream career for 5 years. That means just getting things done and doing things on the side to help you get experience. And this is like the perfect opportunity to get that experience, to be able to put on your resume that you have been doing something and you've got experience.
Fantastic. 3 great answers. Appreciate your time, and I really appreciate all of you being here. Thank you, and I'll see you next year on June let's say it's the 21st, and we'll talk again, and all of you will be out in industry, so I'm looking forward to having that chat.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to the Sports Degrees Summit. Now we're going to be talking about a very, very exciting trip coming up in November. But before we do so, how about we go around, introduce ourselves. Everyone is at a different level of their Holmesglen journey at the moment. So tell us your name and what year you're in, or if you're graduated, and which degree you did.
Yeah, I'm Bodie. I'm in my third year of sports business, currently doing my internship at Hockey Australia.
My name is Dylan. I graduated with a Bachelor of Sports Business at the start of this year, and now working with Cricket Australia and Tenpin Bowling Australia.
Hi, my name is Liam. I'm from Colac and I'm a journalist, part-time commentator and part-time podcaster.
I love it. And I'm Kira. I'm in my third year of sports media and I'm doing my internship at Rainmaker. But something we all have in common is that we'll be all making the trip to America with Holmesglen for a very exciting trip for 2 weeks in November. So we'll be starting in Vegas and then going across to LA. Let's start with just the trip in general. What are we all most looking forward to? Liam, we'll start with you.
Oh, I don't know if I can say what I'm most looking forward to on air, but it should be a good trip. I can't wait to see sort of the variety of sports they have over there. It's such a saturated market. And like even the sports like the NHL in LA and Vegas doesn't make any sense to me because they're two very arid and hot areas. But like how do they build and recruit to their teams? Like that's something that really interests me as well. But yeah, I just can't wait to get over there. It's an experience. It's something new, a little bit different, and I think that's why we were all drawn to it, wasn't it? So yeah, I'm just looking for a new experience, something a bit different.
Love it. We love something a bit different. We love learnings, don't we? Over to you, Dill.
Yeah, pretty much some stuff the same, but I'm more looking forward to like seeing the similarities, but the differences between our sports and theirs, particularly behind the scenes, like how they, like you said, recruit, but also like how they do their training, what their facilities are like, and like their timeline compared to what our timeline would be, but also just getting over there, having a bit of fun, and seeing the world from a different angle, really.
Love it.
For me, it's like here living in Australia, it's still saturated in the sports market, but you have, footy's your big sport in Melbourne. Over there, we watch all of their sport here, but actually going over and seeing, how their major four sports work, and then, but the college aspect as well is something that we don't have that here.
Don't have it.
Like
And so-
UNLB and
Yeah.
So
sort of stuff.
going to some colleges, going to a college basketball game, going to a college football game, like their crowds and stuff.
And
that
they're
they
gonna
have.
be bloody loud.
Yeah,
They're gonna be
and
mint.
Well,
they're-
That's it, just the whole college setup. Like
Yeah.
it's such a semi-professional sort of sport.
Like if
but
you think about it, this is our Holmesglen is our college. Like it's gonna be very different.
Yeah, it's going to be really different. And I mean, we all had to go through an interview stage before we got accepted to go on this trip. And didn't lie throughout the interview process. I know very little about American sports and I don't pretend to. So I'm really looking forward to seeing the business side of things and how they really just operate over there as an industry. We will be going to, as we mentioned, a lot of sporting games over there. We haven't got our fixture. We haven't got our schedule. Itinerary, schedule, fixture, same. We're all sport fans. What is one thing that we're all hoping to be on the itinerary?
Oh, Jesus. An NBA game in LA would be insane. To see like the Lakers play or something like that, that's a bit of a bucket list item. But
Celtics would be nice, I reckon.
yeah, if they're over there at that time. But yeah, I'm a massive baseball fan, and I know the baseball ends sort of October, so we don't really see it in its prime sort of time of the season. But even seeing those sorts of stadiums and how they take care of their facilities, and I just think the sport over there is so different in the every ground has their own home venue. That is their organisation. It's their home.
And some sports have like a training facility at the same place. They have their playing ground that they have a stadium for. Like you don't come here and see MCGs where some AFL teams play, but you don't see their training facilities at the MCG. Like some people in America, some clubs, their training facility and game day place is at the same joint.
Yeah.
And it's going to be crazy to see how they all work.
we're talking about how crazy it is to see how they operate, but I'm also excited to tell them how many AFL clubs we have in Melbourne and the fact that just a regular game gets 90,000 at the G. Like, I'm really excited just to see the reaction of that. Maybe not North games.
Yeah, maybe Collingwood though. Who knows?
I love it. We do know that when we are in LA, we will be going to an NFL game, so that's super exciting. Do you all follow NFL?
Yeah, I follow it a lot. I have Gridiron Wednesdays with my grandpa on the couch, so I can't wait to get over there. Yeah.
What about you?
I can't say that I ever did. I have recently over the last couple of years, but I guess I've been to America fortunately once before, and I saw an NBA game and an NHL game and an MLB game. So getting to the college side, but also that NFL game. It's you also think it's SoFi Stadium, the one that we're going to, which is this big brand new stadium in Inglewood in LA. It's this, we don't have Marvel's short, got a facelift, but the inside, as a North fan, spent a lot of time there as a kid. It's dingy as anything. Going to this big, glamorous stadium is kind of, there's so much money in American sport.
Yeah.
And it's the exposure to how the NFL operates. It's a massive sport. Players get paid $30 million a year to throw a ball around. It's quite impressive. So getting
if they want to donate just some to us, they're more than
welcome.
welcome.
Yeah. If you want to give some to good people, we'll get in contact. Yeah.
Absolutely. What about you? Do you follow NFL?
Not fully. Like I'd watch it if it's like one of the last sports on TV. Obviously, watch the Super Bowl because who doesn't watch the Super Bowl? Even if you're not a fan,
Everyone watches
you still
the
watch
Super
it for
Bowl.
the fun of watching it. I know back in when I was at Cedar College, my teacher would always put the Super Bowl or NFL or whatever, like when it was on TV. So that was really when I watched it. Not a huge fan, but it's always a sport where I'm interested in. Like I'm not going to turn down watching it or going to a game or something. And
No, sorry, Simone. I don't want to go to the NFL.
Yeah. So it'd be nice. It would be nice to learn more about it and to get a new mindset of how they run and how they work as a sport. So it's going to be interesting.
It's another thing that's interesting about like the LA Rams were formerly the St. Louis Rams. Jesus, St. Louis. But
Super Bowl there.
yeah, like lots of these sports teams that we're going to, like the LA Kings in the ice hockey, or even Vegas with their NFL and NHL, they're all relatively new and they're building. And as Simone has said or advertised this tour to us, it's we're going to the hotspot of sport in America, which I think is just one of the coolest things ever, and to do it with a group of people who are also as interested in sport as I am, that just adds to it, I reckon.
Well said.
Definitely. And you touched on it there, but we're not just going as fans. Thanks to Holmesglen, we will have access that the average person probably doesn't get when they're going to America. We will get to mix with executives and different high-up people in the world of American sport. What's one question, no matter who it is, that you might want to ask, see what their perspective of sport is? We'll go around.
Oh, one question. Oh, you can't do that.
I'm going to do it.
I think she just
I
did.
just
Yeah, she just did. If there was one thing, because I assume they have like a global sports view, if there was one thing they could bring over to Australia, what would that American organisation bring?
Love
I reckon that's a...
What would I ask? I'd probably go something down the lines of if you got to partner with any Australian sport, who would it be and why would you pick that sport? And why is the comparison the reason you chose it?
Good one.
It's going to be so broad and generalised, but how is probably how does it work? How do you keep on top of so many moving parts? Here, obviously, we have, the NFL is a bit similar to how we structure sports here, is that, you play once on the weekend, but an NBA team might play 3 or 4 times a week.
Yeah, the travel, the logistics of it all.
How do you operate? You might play 2 home games, but how do you operate your venue for those 2 home games? And then you coordinate your team getting on a flight, flying across the country to go, you might play in LA and then you have to do road travel to New York. Like, how does that work?
And especially when like you've got other 2-day breaks, sometimes it's back to back, and you got like 4 to 6 hours to hop on a plane, get to your next destination, and prepare. Like,
it's also
sometimes it's crazy, like how quickly they turn it.
the players as well. Like, you know, in AFL, they have a monopoly over where they play, and if they don't like a place, they're not going to play there. Whereas
You can be
in the
shipped off.
MLB, you can literally be told halfway through a game that you're now playing in Boston.
I
You
think
know,
that's
you're
the
now
most
in Philly.
ridiculous
It's
thing
like,
ever.
sorry, you're not good enough. You're playing for them now.
yeah.
I think mine would probably be asking their least favourite thing that has happened to the sport over the last few years, because I think in Australia we're probably a few years behind America. So if there's anything that we can stop from happening that they wish didn't happen to the sport would be my one. To finish off, we can't say whether the opportunity was amazing. We're sure it all will be, but we can't really speak to the experience just yet. That'll be a podcast later down the track. But just more broadly to any prospective students that might be listening and hearing about all the awesome opportunities at Holmesglen, what would be your message to them?
Well, I think the reason people choose this course and people stay in this course and love this course is because it's a more personal sort of experience that you have with lecturers and industry partners. You're not in a massive lecture room where there's 300 kids. You're one-on-one a lot of times, and you get to learn that way by actually doing stuff. And I think that's the beauty of this course, and it's the beauty of other courses like this as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'd definitely go down the tracks of saying, like, obviously the classes I've had between 15 to 25 students in a class, but also the relationships you have, not only between you and your lecturer, but you with your classmates. Like, for me, obviously graduating at the start of this year, I still have a massive group chat with all my classmates, and we just talk banter. It's probably some of the best times I've had here, but it's also all the connections you get with the industry, like you said, the industry people, and with all the learnings and opportunities. Like, they really set you up to succeed in the future, and that's really what is the best thing about this course. Is they don't just put you through and go see ya. They put you through, they stay connected, and they help you succeed. That's probably the best thing about it.
Absolutely. And I think that shows at the table right now, because Liam and I are obviously in the same class, but we have all been in different parts of the course and yet have connected. And so, yeah, it's a really positive aspect of Holmesglen. What about you?
I think it's a mixture of both, to be honest. I think that when you look at how normal uni operates, it's that big lecture hall, and this one's, you know, you have 25 or less. You know, in my class at times I've had 8 people in there because it's... But the people you get taught by have industry experience. I'm sure that they do at other unis as well, but they're not just academics. Like, they do work at academia, but, you know, we've been taught by ex-Olympians. We've been taught by people that have played for the country. Like, it's... You get that exposure, and then a trip like this, you know, it doesn't come around very often. You're not going to... Even though we haven't been on it, like, the idea that we're going to America with the course that we're studying or we've studied, and we're getting exposed to how their college system works or how... So here we see, I guess, how we all have some understanding of how the AFL might operate, but, you know, it's a publicly owned entity over there. Like, their sport's all privatised.
Well, what does Simone say all the time? Never say no to an opportunity.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
That's like the course
Yeah,
description.
it's the motto.
But I think that is a motto, and it's because you get provided with so much opportunity here. Like, you know, your internship that 3 of us, I think, were doing at the moment, you would have completed. You said you did 2 half ones last year, so you completed at 2 different organisations. Like, you don't get exposure to, you know, for me personally, I'm working at an Olympic organisation, an NSO at the moment, in an Olympic year for, you know, free, but I get exposure to something that you wouldn't get exposure to, and I think that the opportunity that this course creates is huge, and this is just another part of that opportunity.
Spot on. Well, thank you all for joining me for a really exciting chat. I'm sure we'll be roped into a podcast once the trip is done, so you definitely will be hearing from us again.
Thank you.
Thank you.